my crew and I were wondering why people were so addicted to social media. We decided to research and find out what is happening behind the screen. Around 3.1 billion people are social media users worldwide, and 210 million of them are addicted to social media. People are addicted to social media because it acts as a form of drug where it gives you a hit of dopamine when you post something and get positive attention for that. It can have the opposite effect if you get negative attention on your post. Certain people can even get depression from this. In March of 2018, it was reported that more than a third of Generation Z from a survey of 1,000 individuals stated that they were quitting social media, as 41% stated that social media platforms make them feel anxious, sad or depressed. We travelled to Buckingham Palace to see what the public has to say about social media. So how many social media platforms do you have?
I'm only on Facebook.
What about
I think
The same.
Facebook, yeah.
How long do you use Facebook for?
I've been on Facebook since 2007. I probably go on there every day just to see what my friends are up to and everything. Hate the adverts on it though.
How many social media platforms do you have?
Two.
Two?
Yes.
What are they?
Facebook and Instagram.
How long do you use Instagram for?
In a day,
Yeah.
hour per day, 1 hour per day.
Do you,
I
thi-
guess.
do you think you're addicted to it?
I am. Yes. Yes.
Why do you think you're addicted to it?
Because I have to check many times in the day. I keep checking it.
Thank you very much. From these two responses, we can see that they are addicted to social media. We can assume that these people weren't experts on the topic, so their answers could have been very different based on the individual. Around 95 million photos are uploaded every day on Instagram, and 59% of internet users between the ages of 18 and 29 use Instagram. Cyberbullying is common on social media as a younger audience are more naive and vulnerable to these acts. We found two experts on the subject to discuss about the addiction that we all face.
My name's Suzanne. I'm the student counsellor at Newvic, and I've been working here for about 18 years.
Have you dealt with patients who have suffered from social media addiction?
So in my work as a counsellor at college, not many people actually would describe themselves as addicted to social media. So it takes some time sometimes for them to realise that they are dependent on their social media. And often people won't talk about it because it's so much part of their lives. They don't think that they are addicted. But a lot of the young people that I see don't actually use their phones during the session. There was a time when social media first started about 5 or 6 years ago, and it became really, really popular. Some people would come into a session and talk about their problems, and they'd be on social media at the same time. But I found that people are probably less using their phones in counselling sessions than before.
There's a number of students here at Newvic who are really, really addicted to social media. Some of them who've come to me and they've said that they just can't come off of their phones or come off of their tablets. They're really, really really interested in uploading and checking Twitter feeds and stuff like that. So yeah, I've dealt with a number of students, particularly here at Newvic, who suffered from social media addiction.
What's the recommended time people should use social media for?
Well, I don't know the recommended time. I'm not sure what the recommended time is that people should use social media. I think, as a parent, I struggle with my own kid, but I think on the one hand, social media is fantastic for finding things out. If you're curious, it opens up huge worlds for you. You can have amazing relationships with people from the other side of the world, just kind of finding things out, meeting them. It opens things up on the one hand, so I think some time is probably good, but I think on the other hand it's so addictive that once you spend a bit of time you want to spend more and more. So I think one of the skills people have to learn is how to manage their time, how to stop, even though they know they're being dragged and pulled into something. So if young people know that it's created to be addictive, then they have to learn the skills of how to manage that addiction and how to manage the fact that someone is trying to get them to spend more time on their phones. So I think it depends on the person. I know for some people, when they're very isolated, social media or being on their phone is a real lifesaver. And I know that for others, it means they get so lost on the social media that they don't have a real life and they don't know how to do real life anymore.
I would personally recommend people should limit their daily social media to an hour and a half at most. Might sound small for a lot of people. They probably do that quite a lot. They probably spend up 6-7 hours. But just a quick look on your phone for a couple of minutes is fine. But if you could try and put it in your day to an hour and a half, because there's so much other things to look at other than social media, which would be more beneficial for positive mental health.
What kind of impact does it have on young people's minds?
In general, it has a negative impact on mental health, because a lot of the time what you find is that people are posting just the good side of their life, and it creates an image. So for somebody who's suffering from low self-esteem, which many young people do, it affects what they think how things should look like. It lowers their self-esteem if they think that they haven't got the latest clothes or the latest trainers, or they haven't travelled or gone, like, from what they've seen that people have posted. I think the impacts are really, really negative and can affect somebody's mental health.
Why do you think people use social media?
I think phones and everything on phones are designed to make you addicted to it. And it's been proven now that that's why they designed them in the first place. And some of the first designers have said they won't let their children use their phones. They won't let them go on social media because they know just how addictive it is. So I think people go on it to connect. People go on it for lots of, really good reasons. They want to find out things. They want to connect with other people. And in that way, it's fantastic. But on the other hand, once you're on it, it's really hard to get off it. And I think one of the major problems when you are addicted is that your real life loses a lot of the kind of qualities of what makes it interesting and exciting. If you take porn, for example, a lot of people get addicted to looking at porn on their phones or going on sites where they interact with people, but actually it means that in real life they get really disappointed because it's not how it seems. So the virtualness of what goes on social media means that young people can end up being very dissatisfied with who they actually are, what their relationships are actually like. And I've met a lot of young people who are very lost because they don't know who they are, because the image that they project through their social media is not them. So they end up thinking, but who am I? And the person that they project, they want to project someone perfect that gets lots of likes, and they feel very, very different on the inside. So what they present from the outside is very different from the inside. And there's only so long that you can live like that, projecting a perfect image and feeling really imperfect on the inside. So I've seen young people who want to kill themselves, who see no point in their lives because they don't know who they are. And I think that's because they've lived a lot of their life in a virtual world and not in an actual world. So they're not equipped to live in the actual world.
To end this documentary off, we have an answer from a professional therapist, but she wanted to remain anonymous, so we had a voice actress to read it for us.
I do believe that there are positive aspects of social media. Just being online allows people to express themselves in different ways. Someone who is very shy can express themselves more easily through written words, and it can even be anonymous in some forums. This might help their self-esteem and view of themselves. This can also happen inversely. Social media can portray an idea of what and who people should be. Young people can be impressionable. Everyone is different and might buy into some of the ideas portrayed in social media, like being skinny or wearing a certain brand of clothing is cool. And you're not cool if you don't have it. This can impact on relationships and self-esteem, amongst other things. Bullying is another factor. As I said earlier, people can be more free to express themselves in ways that they wouldn't necessarily do in person. And bullying is an example of this. Censorship is diminished, and people should allow themselves to be more open about their thoughts about someone without considering the consequences. They are still attacking a real person, but this reality is diminished by the screen they're typing on.